This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Not one, not two, but 3 home runs from the bottom of your Milwaukee Brewers order as they power this team to a victory over the Pittsburgh Pirates at American Family Field. This one by a final score of 9-3. Lots to get into tonight. A bounce back win for your Brewers after their 4-game win streak came to a halt on Monday evening. The bottom of the order, boy, do we have a lot of flowers to hand out tonight for guys like Joey Ortiz, Caleb Durban. Some of you already on the YouTube chat talking about player of the game. We'll get into that. And for tomorrow's matchup, get your popcorn ready. A lot to get into as far as tomorrow's matchup goes, with maybe the matchup of the year on the mound for the Brewers and the Pirates. Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Locked On Brewers postcast. My name is Brandon Snyder. You can follow me on X at Brandon_Snyder, and follow all of my work over at WTMJ.com. Back from vacation, and the Brewers welcoming me back with a 9-3 win. Boy, does it feel good to get a win over these Pirates after Monday. It kind of fell through the cracks a little bit early on in that game, but the Brewers do get the win this evening over the Pirates, now 44-36 on the season. They get back into the win column. As I mentioned, that 4-game win streak coming to a halt on Monday, but they do bounce back ahead of a really intriguing matchup on the mound, which we'll discuss later on in the show. Your thoughts, your comments, your concerns, opinions, all welcomed on the program. Just drop your thoughts in the YouTube chat. We'll get to all of them as the show goes on. Real quickly, before we dive into, what really transpired throughout the course of this game and really what I want to talk about, and that is going to be the bottom of the order. Let's get into your scoring summary brought to you by Rugiet and Monarch Money this evening. Joey Ortiz getting the party started for your Milwaukee Brewers. A home run to left center, 400 feet off the bat for Joey Ortiz. That was a 2-run shot. That would score Caleb Durban and, of course, Ortiz there. That would give the Brewers a 2-0 lead. The next inning, Caleb Durban, another no-doubter, 387 feet off the bat, a 3-run shot, 5-0 for your Brewers. And then in the same inning, the very next at bat, you guessed it, the bottom of the order once again for this Brewer team, Joey Ortiz. And I say this as a guy that has criticized the bottom of the order. Tonight was one of those nights where maybe we don't get this consistently, and I doubt you're going to get, consistently where, 3 home runs are coming from 2 guys, 2 of them from Joey Ortiz, as the show goes on. But I felt like tonight was just a little bit of an exercising of the demons for those two. And we have seen spurts between these 2 guys. Caleb Durban, most notably, more than Joey Ortiz. Joey Ortiz coming in tonight with 2 home runs on the season. He matched his total this evening with 2 home runs, as we had mentioned it. That would take the Brewers, though, into the 5th. Jackson Chourio would score on a wild pitch. That would make the game 7-0 after that Ortiz solo shot, and then the Chourio scoring on the wild pitch. Gonzalez for the Pirates, who's kind of been a thorn in the Brewers' side these 2 games really all season long, though, has hit a 3-run shot in that 6th inning, and then Joey Ortiz would ground into the 8th inning fielder's choice. Man, I feel like I'm saying Joey Ortiz in the scoring summary, but big reasons why, and we'll get to the player of the game here shortly. He would ground into a fielder's choice. That would score Andrew Monasterio, who was a pinch runner for Rhys Hoskins in that 8th inning. That would give the Brewers a little bit more of a cushion, but then Sal Frelick would say, hey, here's a little bit bigger of a cushion. A single to right field. That would score Isaac Collins. And really quickly, I was getting a little worried there in the 8th inning. Isaac Collins extending his hitting streak to 8 games. Now, 8-game hitting streak for Isaac Collins. And there has been some chatter, certainly amongst Brewers fans on social media, about what to do with Isaac Collins and where he should be. Leave Isaac Collins where he's at right now. There's no reason whatsoever to remove him for where he's playing at for this Milwaukee Brewers team. Christian Yelich is your DH. Isaac Collins in left field has been fantastic. He had a major out in that 2nd inning, which we're going to get into because this is going to be maybe a debatable topic amongst you Brewers fans, but I'm curious your thoughts, because this is my thoughts on this game. Freddie Peralta also getting the win. I should point that out. Freddie Peralta getting the start for your Milwaukee Brewers, now 8-4 on the season for fastball Freddie. 5 innings pitched, not a deep start for Freddie. 7 hits allowed. That 3 home run, he was pulled after that Gonzalez home run. But the same thing for Freddie. It's just the pitch count, right? 94 pitches in 5 innings of work is just, it's kind of been, I don't want to say an Achilles heel for him because he's been fantastic, over the course of the season. He's had some starts where he hasn't been great, but he's 8-4. He's your ace of the team for now. But I think that, and I say that respectively, and it's not a knock at Freddie Peralta, but Jacob Mizorowski, who we'll talk about later, is on his way as an up-and-coming ace for this Milwaukee Brewers team. And Logan Henderson has also been fantastic. But Freddie is your leader when it comes to the starting pitching for your Milwaukee Brewers. He does get the win. The pitch count just kind of the issue for Freddie, going through that third time through the lineup. 7 hits, 3 earned runs. I think, over 5 innings of work, when you have the lead and the run support that Freddie got tonight, it's not a big deal. Hopefully going forward, though, that's going to be the thing with Freddie. Every time Freddie is on the mound, I am watching his pitch count. I am curious, especially in that first inning. I think he got to 18 or 19 in that first inning. He worked around some trouble, but that's going to take me to my turning point in this game. And a lot of you are going to be like, well, it's got to be the Joey Ortiz 2-run shot, or maybe it's the Caleb Durban 3-run home run, but it's not. And I'm going to explain my turning point in the Brewers' 9-3 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
I mentioned Freddie Peralta and kind of working into some trouble. It to me was the second inning for Freddie is the turning point for this Milwaukee Brewers game. Now, I know it's going to say, the opening there is where the game was won or lost. I don't know if this is going to be the defining moment of a win or loss moment for this Milwaukee Brewers team in this game. But the second inning for me felt like a major moment in this one. And for a couple of reasons. Number one, you get those runs in the third inning. So immediately following the second inning, you score all of your runs in the third and fourth inning, the majority of your runs. That puts you up 5-0. And at that point, I think most of us kind of assumed that it was going to be a win, especially against a struggling Pittsburgh Pirates team. But for me, the turning point was the second inning, the bases loaded with no outs for Freddie Peralta. And for him to work out of that in multiple different ways, and we'll go play by play here for that second inning, because it felt like for that second inning for Freddie Peralta, it felt like a very, very big moment for him to kind of get out of that inning unscathed. And it kind of set the the parameters up for the Brewers offense to kind of break it open a little bit. You had a single to left, and then followed by a Key Brian Hayes single, Frazier single. The bases were loaded with nobody out, and he was able to get out of that inning without allowing any runs. The grounder to third, Durban made the play at home, and then you had the strikeout, and then O'Neal Cruz lining out to, I believe it was left field. For the Brewers, and we have seen this, where Freddie kind of works himself into a little bit of trouble. And I wouldn't say he worked himself into trouble. He just, gave up a few hits. It wasn't like he put anybody on base, via the walk. But for me, it felt like, okay, if the Brewers were going to fall behind early in that second inning, would that set up Freddie for an even shorter start than we'd already seen? Then you're dipping back into your bullpen. We saw Monday night kind of how that worked out, right? The Brewers fall behind a little bit early. They start fighting back. They fight back. Christian Yelich with the big home run on Monday night. They get back, but then they just keep falling back little by little, and they weren't able to get over that hump on Monday night. Freddie Peralta helped prevent that, and I know he gave up the 3 hits to get them into the position they were in that second inning, but I felt like in that moment, that was a big turning point for me. And then really the next 2 innings, you score 5 runs, and it kind of sets yourself back up, for success, and you're able to cruise into a win for your Brewers, a 9-3 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates. So that felt like, for me, that was the turning point in this game. Now, the next segment here, I don't think anybody's going to have any pushback. I know a lot of you are on the chat, the live YouTube chat already with your thoughts. So without further ado, let's introduce tonight, and I think it's going to be a collective introducing of the player of the game for your Milwaukee Brewers in a 9-3 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates at American Family Field.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
So before I get to my player of the game, I'm curious some of your thoughts. Nick over on YouTube, let's go, Brew Crew. Who is this new Ortiz? He also says, Brandon, I hope you and your family had a great vacation and welcome back. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, as always, for being an everydayer for the Locked On Brewers podcast. I greatly appreciate it. We had a fantastic time. I had an even better time turning on the television, getting ready to watch my first game, being back in the United States and seeing a 9-3 win from your Milwaukee Brewers, powered by the bottom of the order. Jaden, also an everydayer. Ortiz, player of the game. And I don't think really it's going to be any arguing. I don't think there's going to be any disagreement for your Milwaukee Brewers, but the player of the game, and it feels good to really say this. It feels really good for me to say his name, because it's a guy who we have all talked about needs to step up. We need more. You're stepping into a big role after Willy Adames leaves. Joey Ortiz is your player of the game tonight, and it just feels good to say his name out loud and to give him his flowers and to stand up. And I am clapping my hands for Joey Ortiz, and I'm not being sarcastic. That guy has fought through hell this season at the plate, and he has struggled mightily. But for him tonight, he set the tone for your Milwaukee Brewers. 2 for 4 this evening, 4 RBIs and a 9-3 win, and 2 home runs, as we had mentioned. And he set the tone in that third inning with that almost 400-foot shot. I think the actual distance was 397. We're going to give him 400. I think it bounced to 400 for Joey Ortiz, and he's tonight's player of the game in a 9-3 Milwaukee Brewers win. And it just feels good to say his name as player of the game, because it is a guy, and Caleb Durban too. Let's not also sleep on Caleb Durban. 2 for 4 tonight for Caleb Durban as well, with 3 RBIs. He had the 3-run home run there. And then they go back to back as well in the 4th inning. Joey Ortiz and Caleb Durban is the bottom of the order, man. The bottom of the order. When it starts, it doesn't even need to, like, tonight's great, right? You get a ton of 7 RBIs out of the bottom of the order, and they go a collective 4 for 8. You'll take that every day that ends in Y. It doesn't need to be that great, but it needs to be better than what we have seen. And they stepped up tonight. They stepped up and they answered the bell for this Milwaukee Brewers team. And they carried the load offensively, and they gave guys, Christian Yelich had big moments over the course of this stretch of games, and Drum has some numbers. We'll get to his numbers in a minute on Christian Yelich. But it just feels good to say the bottom of the order, because we have all agreed that, hey, man, the bottom of the order just needs to be better. It just needs to be better. And tonight they answered the bell. They were fantastic. They were the difference in a 9-3 Milwaukee Brewers win. Joey Ortiz getting your player of the game, 2 for 4. 2 home runs, 4 total RBIs. I guess if we're going to give an honorable mention, let's give one away. It's going to go to Caleb Durban. Caleb Durban tonight, as I mentioned, 2 for 4 with that 3-run shot as well. That kind of really separated this game. A 5-0 couple at bats there for your Brewers, and that really separated this one in a 9-3 win. 44-36, and do not look now, but that NL Central lead for your Milwaukee Brewers, I should say, if you're rooting for the Milwaukee Brewers, is beginning to close in on the Chicago Cubs, who are currently still ahead of you, but not by much. So don't look now. The Milwaukee Brewers starting to play really good baseball when it really starts to matter as we get into the end of June here and into July and trade season and team needs. And this Brewers team is priming themselves for another run at the postseason. Your thoughts, your reaction coming up. We'll get to all of it. I see all of you lined up live over on YouTube. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. We'll get to your thoughts, your comments in just a minute right after this. Tonight's show is brought to you by Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra and Cialis. Maybe you've tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. It is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost your blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours and hours and hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average, in 15 minutes, and effects can last up to 36 hours. Super easy to use. In 15 minutes, it can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If those traditional options haven't worked, as I have mentioned, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB. So Rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB. Use code LockedOnMLB to get 15% off. That's Rugiet, RUGIET.com/LockedOnMLB, and use that promo code LockedOnMLB, and you get 15% off your first order. Rugiet.com. Tonight's program also brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing money felt easier? I was just on vacation I just don't always want to look at 3 or 4 different apps. Monarch Money can make it easier. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch Money puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. It's more than just a budgeting app. So it's not just one of these reads here for another budgeting app. No, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, all your investments, all of your spending in one simple place. You don't have to open another app, go to another app, log in here, log in there. It's real easy, super simple in one spot. So in addition to managing money, you can now also start building your start building your wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. Joey Ortiz and Caleb Durban batted 50% tonight. 2 for 4, 2 for 4, right? 500 between the two of them. It's no coincidence that Monarch Money is giving you 50% off your first year if you use code LOCKEDONMLB. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your entire first year. monarchmoney.com. The Milwaukee Brewers getting a much-needed bounce-back victory as the Cubs also lose tonight to the Cardinals. Good and bad there. The Cubs lose, the Cardinals win and maintain pace with the Brewers. The Cardinals, that is, but the Brewers able to climb ahead in the NL Central race once again over those Cubs. A 9-3 win tonight over the Pittsburgh Pirates. We mentioned it already. Freddie Peralta getting the win for your Brewers. Now 8-4 for Freddie. The bottom of the order coming through when needed. Caleb Durban, Joey Ortiz, who got the player of the game. Isaac Collins' 8-game hitting streak continues on. He was 1 for 3 this evening. So it was a good win overall for your Milwaukee Brewers, who we had mentioned after they lost Monday. It snapped that 4-game win streak. They were able to bounce back and get back into the win column, as Drum points out over on YouTube. 2.5 games back of the NL Central. It's probably why the Cubs decided to cancel their quote-unquote rainout game once again, as the Brewers were getting ready to trot out Mizorowski, and they canceled that game. The Brewers did split that series, and I know we're looking back a ways, but a big win for your Milwaukee Brewers. And I know I kind of always say another big win or a much-needed win. The Brewers have dug themselves out of the hole that we have talked about, the proverbial hole that they had put themselves into earlier in the season. And guys are now where we were expecting them to play, have now began to play in that manner. That's the bottom of the order. And tonight is a perfect example of that. Not to highlight tonight's game and talk about, well, this is what they should be doing, because when you have 3 total home runs between 2 players and what is it, 7 RBIs, probably not going to be what you're going to get night in and night out. But the Brewers team, that bottom of the order is crucial for them to kind of get going and help that top of the order offensively for your Milwaukee Brewers. We saw it in spurts last year, and the Brewers, ran away with the NL Central wire to wire, flamed out in the playoffs, obviously. But when that bottom of the order starts being productive, even when you go back to that 8-game win streak that the Brewers were on earlier in the season in May, and really I think they won 9 out of 10 in that same stretch. It was Caleb Durban. It was Joey Ortiz. It was getting guys on base. It was being active on the base pass, playing good defense. This Brewers team now is starting to do that more consistently. This stretch has just been absolutely fantastic. Jake over on YouTube, welcome back, good sir. Can't wait for tomorrow's pitching matchup. Thank you, Jake. Thank you. It's great to be back. I really did. Truly, I know I was in the Caribbean Ocean and having a good time, but I did miss getting behind this microphone and yelling or cheering one way or the other for your Milwaukee Brewers. But it does feel good to be back, and what a game tomorrow. And it's a day game, and we usually don't do postcast shows for day games because I'm at my day job. I'm off tomorrow. I'm slowly easing myself back into it. We're going to be going live tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a special show. I think a special game, certainly. As Jay Andrews also says on YouTube, I'll be at the game tomorrow. I think it's one of those games where it's tough. Obviously there's great pitchers throughout the course of, the entire league. Tomorrow might be like the best pitching matchup of the year. Like, it just might. Like, Jacob Mizorowski's hat is in the Hall of Fame, as he, 11 innings, his first 11 innings have been historic. Paul Skeens is probably the best pitcher in baseball right now. Numbers will tell you maybe otherwise, but he just doesn't get any run support. But I think that, I don't think I'm out of my wits saying that it might be the pitching matchup of the year. I think it's really good, obviously for multiple reasons, but it also helps that this Brewers team is certainly playing better, and it doesn't, change the fact that, you got to go out and now win, right? Like tonight was a good win. Obviously, you bounce back from losing Monday. I would have liked to have seen the different outcome Monday, as obviously most Brewer fans would, to kind of relieve a little bit of pressure for what tomorrow holds offensively for your Brewers in a tough matchup against Paul Skeens, who absolutely dominated the Brewers. If you remember, I think it was back last year before the All-Star break. He had a no-hitter going in, or I think he finished the 7th inning. So it's a tough matchup tomorrow, but hopefully the Brewers didn't use up all of their all of their runs tonight in a 9-3 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates at American Family Field. Ben over on YouTube, nice when Joey Ortiz isn't an auto out. It's a difference. It's a difference maker for this Milwaukee Brewers team. That is without a doubt. It's just a difference for this Brewers team. That means guys like Jackson Chourio and Christian Yelich and William Contreras and Rhys Hoskins don't have to carry that load offensively if they can't, do it consistently enough. What it helps when that bottom of the order is producing. And when the bottom of the order is producing, I will put this Brewers lineup against any lineup in baseball. And I know that's easy to say because if any team has a bottom of the order producing, more times than not, they're going to be successful. But this Brewers team, as we have seen with the way they are set up, if they are able to score runs and it generates that bottom of the order into the top of the order, I will put this Brewers team defensively and pitching wise against anybody in Major League Baseball. I just will. And that's what the difference is. Like, it can't always be the meat of the order. And if the meat of the order is having an off night, it's got to be the bottom of the order. And tonight we saw what the bottom of the order was tonight. And the bullpen, Rob Zastrinski coming in, not allowing a hit in an inning. Jared Kinney, just one hit, no runs. Grant Anderson, his recall looked fantastic. One inning pitch, no hits, no runs. And Abner Uribe shutting him down in the top of the 9th inning as the Brewers get the 9-3 win over the Pittsburgh Pirates at American Family Field. Couple more thoughts and comments from you guys over on YouTube. Greg over on the chat. Relaxing game to watch, get a big lead and hold it, coast to win. And that's the thing. Like, when this Brewers team is able to build an early lead, I put this team up against anybody because of the way they're constructed, the way they play defense. Sal Frelick leading Major League Baseball in assists out there in right field. A gold, glover, obviously, in Sal Frelick. A platinum glove winner in Bryce Terrain. Isaac Collins has been fantastic. Jackson Chourio starting to feel more comfortable out there in center field. It's just this team defensively is set up for success. Caleb Durban, I know, didn't have the greatest night at third base. He had a play where he probably should have made this evening. Didn't count as an error, but nonetheless, it prevented anything really from happening as Freddie Peralta was able to work out of that jam in the 2nd inning. That was our turning point of the game. Another comment, Mr. Baseball is just a bit outside and smiling. This is the year for Bob. Yeah. I think if there's going to be a year where you do it, you would prefer to do it when Bob was in the booth. But certainly if you want to honor him, it's a year to do it and a wacky year. And Bob would, probably come into the clubhouse and make a joke about the guys when they were struggling and a couple games under 500. It wasn't too long ago, guys. We were talking about this team being a couple games under 500. They have certainly changed course on their season now, 44-36 on the season, a 9-3 win over the Pirates. Milwaukee Brewers using the bottom of the order. Joey Ortiz, the player of the game, 2 for 4. Caleb Durban with the 3-run shot. He was also 2 for 4. And the Brewers get a win. In the same night the Cubs lose, so they're finally able to get a game on the Cubs as they lose this evening. And the National League Central lead for those Cubs, shouldn't say for your Cubs, for the Cubs, starting to shrink little by little dinks in the armor here for those Chicago Cubs as the Brewers are coming to claim the NL Central. Tomorrow's matchup, Jacob Mizorowski, Paul Skeens, a matchup we may be talking about for days and ages and years and who knows how long as those two aces line up on the mound. We'll discuss that game and everything that happens in that game immediately after the last out tomorrow afternoon. My name is Brandon Snide. Thanks for following along on the Locked On Brewers postcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Brandon_Snide. Thank you for always making Locked On Brewers part of your day each and every day. Remember, you can follow all of our content wherever you get podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, all that good stuff. You can also follow us on YouTube and get everything also on there. Just hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up button, drop a comment, drop a thought, and we will talk after tomorrow after Paul Skeens and Jacob Mizorowski match up on the mound. as always, feels good to be back. It certainly feels good to be back when the Brewers win, though. But win, lose, or draw, it is always go Brewers. Talk to you tomorrow. Have a good one.